Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast powered by 19 Media Group. It is your host, Ricky and Kwame, and we are finally watching Lakers basketball. It's officially that time. We are back. New faces are suiting up, taking the court. Preseason basketball is here, and it just feels so right. Kwame's here, Ricky's here. We're excited to get into everything Lakers basketball with y'all preseason. Obviously, the first two games did not end up how we would like them, but there's a lot that we can unpack, and we will today. So if you are not already, make sure you are following Late Night Lake Show wherever you get that hashtag good content. Kwame, brother. Friday and Sunday, quick little two games in 72 hours. Lakers unfortunately were not victorious in either one. Kind of were getting their ass whooped in about 6 out of the 8 quarters that were being played. But it's good to get back at it and get our Lakers back on the TV. I know my wife is the most excited person that basketball is back, and that's all we'll be watching. Thank God, no more 90 Day Fiance. But yeah, man, let's dive into it. Yes, no Bron, no Luka, a lot of supporting castmates. What stood out to you most?
I think my standout player, to be honest with you, was Gabe Vincent. He started to look like the Miami Gabe, the Gabe that we were sold on when he first came after the botched Kendrick Nunn acquisition, another Miami Heat guard that we thought we were going to get that was going to pan out to be something, turned out to be nothing. We flipped the book, tried again with Gabe Vincent, suffered through some injuries, but he's back and he was looking good. But I'll be honest, the guys look good without their two main guys who are essentially going to be the engine of their offense. Austin Reeves didn't play in the second of the 2 games. So they were without 3 main components of their team, both offensively, defensively, what they planned to do. So to be honest, it was kind of hard to get a realistic vision of what this team is going to look like moving forward. But it was cool to just see the guys get out there, kind of see the new pieces and just what they might be able to provide for us throughout the season.
You're right. It's hard to get a clear picture of what, these supporting cast mates are going to look like once the big dogs are back. But, in any event, it seems like everybody's getting their reps up, getting their sea legs under them. I think Bronny even said he getting his legs under him. Dalton said he's getting his legs under him. And yes, brother, we could tell after that first game, you needed that second game to do that. But yeah, there was a lot of question marks inside of those losses. But I think the main thing to me is that the Lakers, like I said, maybe an episode or two ago, I'm just interested to see what the ship looks like when LeBron and or Luka are not on the court. Like I said, last episode, the number one thing that I hate to see is a LeBron dominant offense, and he doesn't have a reliable second person to pass the ball to put the ball in the basket. DeAndre Ayton, and we'll talk about him a little bit later, could theoretically be a guy that you throw the ball down to in the post, and he's got a little bit in his bag to make some moves. But through 2 games, we haven't necessarily saw that consistency that we want to. So overall, still, that's going to be my main question through this entire preseason is, can this roster look like it can survive without LeBron and Luka carrying them the entire time? LeBron's older. He might not play every game. Matter of fact, he's not going to play every game, right? What does the offense look like when it's Luka and the rest of the guys? So
yeah, no, I would agree. But unfortunately, we didn't even get to see Luka this time out. So hopefully we'll get it next week or in these next couple preseason games. I'm excited to see what the team looks like with him in the center of it. I think that'll be the big reveal for us.
But I think you said, we have to wait another week before we get preseason game number 3. And it's, I don't know, Luka played, right? Yeah, he was banged up in his Euro League tournament that he was in, but he did finish with the team and finish strong. That was a couple weeks ago, about 2-3 weeks now at this point. For him to be practicing is positive, but you would just like to see overall what your new roster looks like the first time it takes the court together. We saw it with Golden State, right? Golden State brought out Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy, and a freshly paid Jonathan Kuminga out onto the court. And while however you feel that the Warriors are going to do this season, that's the nucleus that they've had, at least going into last year. Jimmy was a new acquisition, but they've had their same chemistry for a while now. The Lakers, it almost feels like every year, every other year, are adding either a big enough piece where you're resetting the chemistry, familiarity button back, or the big pieces are there And now everybody else is turning over every year. So now you need to get the supporting cast chemistry built in. Interested, Kwame, to kind of get your thoughts on if we're looking at a Lakers roster that is doing more harm than good, right? LeBron sitting out with what they call a glute nerve issue, ramping up. Austin played game 1, didn't play game 2. Marcus Smart, Noah Sa, right? They're doing maintenance on him. What is this going to look like when they all come together and play? And just a couple of supporting stats around that, right? Like the Lakers just have not started strong.
No.
They just don't start strong to start their NBA season. Through the first 10 games, matter of fact, the Lakers haven't performed better than 6-4 over the past 4 seasons, right? That includes, and that was just last year.
Just last year.
1 calendar year ago. And while that is positive, right, we are looking at this in totality and thinking, man, 6-4 is 1 game over being 500, what the Lakers seem to have done 2 years out of the past 4 as well. So I'm curious to know, Kwame, do you think that there's any correlation between LeBron, who usually doesn't play the first game or 2 of the preseason, now with Luka also sitting, does that translate to these slow to mid starts that the Lakers have year over year?
No, I totally agree with you there. I think, to be honest, maybe this is an organizational thing with the Lakers, but for some odd reason, they have not taken preseason seriously since the turn of the decade in 2020. Like, there's just no real care about getting the reps in real time against real NBA players, even if it's just for 25 minutes, a quarter and a half, maybe even just the first half. You know what I'm saying? There's been that lack of care in that regard. And again, I get LeBron James is going to be 41 years old this season in his 21st season, so I don't expect him to play a ton. But you're telling me he can't give me 2 quarters of like 65% basketball? Like, really? He can't give me that? Luka, I know they want to be careful with him after he played Eurobasket this summer. He worked a ton on getting his body right, and they want to make sure that he has the endurance to just kind of make it through the entire regular season. Again, he's going to have a tremendous burden on his hands. He's basically going to be slotted for 30 points every evening. So, it's going to take a lot of energy. So I understand why they do it, but it sometimes just baffles me. Again, these first 2 games, for all intents and purposes, are kind of just throwaways to me. Again, we didn't get to see even kind of the standard rotation. We're seeing guys that we know won't crack the rotation. It's hard to understand, like, what's the defensive scheme, offensive scheme. What I saw the first 2 games, I guarantee will look nothing like our offense in the main season. Again, we have Luka, who is, for good or bad, a heliocentric style player. The ball's in his hands about 80% of each possession of the game. That's a component that is completely removed out of these first 2 preseason games. So what you're seeing from people, I don't really know if that's what's going to get. We haven't been able to see how our defense is going to be, how they're going to talk, communicate, rotate. We just see, I actually don't even know what we're looking at when I really get down to the nitty gritty. So it's really hard for me to judge this team, but I agree with your point 100%. I think the lack of care and intensity in the preseason rolls over to the beginning of the regular season, why we've had some of these slower starts and why it's felt like it just hasn't been the greatest beginnings. Again, our best start was last year at 6-4. Again, 5-5, 2-8, brutal, and then 5-5, like very mediocre starts. I feel like the NBA hasn't necessarily given us the worst schedules. I'm sure we could look back and see the type of teams we played, but for the most part, I feel like we've always had a solid start. Maybe our first game has been a little annoying, but outside of that, in 10 games, I feel like we should have had better records than these just based on the team's expectations of what's going on. But yeah, it's difficult for me, but I agree with your point. I think this is the reason why we've had slow starts, and I don't know if JJ is going to take it seriously. I guess we'll find out next week, right?
And don't get me wrong, I get the idea. Preserve LeBron James. He's 90 million years old. Preserve Luka Doncic. He's coming off of his injury and a recent injury, and he's in the best shape of his life. We're not trying to ruin that by putting more tread on the tires that is not necessary. Sure, I understand that portion of the cup. There's still the other portion that's called chemistry. Some of these guys have never played with Luka Doncic, right? A lot of them have played with LeBron, but still, Ayton's never stepped on the court and took a LeBron pick and roll, right? And practice reps and game reps are completely different, right? We have Draymond Green antagonizing Ayton on the defensive end, not Jackson Hayes, right, trying to work through post drills. It's just a different experience once the game is live. So you can't fake spacing. You can't fake timing. You can't fake handoffs. You can't fake any defensive rotations. And those are only built in live reps. I'm worried that we are going to repeat the same thing again and watch teams. Now, right, take a step back. 6-4 isn't the end of the world, right? 6-4 is not bad. You know how many franchises will take a 6-4 start to start their 10-game season? Championship teams are looking for a better start than 6-4. The Oklahoma City Thunder will not be 6-4 to start the season, right? You could guarantee they will be off to an 8-2, 7-3 start. And you either want to go into that real start of the NBA season, Christmas time, in a position where you're still locked in, looking around and saying, yeah, we really are one of these top dog teams, and we're not playing about this from the start. There's a lot of mental cachet, confidence cachet that you get from coming out to a fast start. And I do want to acknowledge the Lakers started 3-0 and then completely started looking like a different offensive team after that. It's tough, but you got to come out the gate with a dedicated focus if you want to be in that conversation where you're not fighting for your life towards February, March, and April, which I don't know about the rest of y'all, is getting a little old.
Yeah,
Late night late
is
show.
Great point. You got to win. You got to win the games that matter. You got to win against your own conference. You have to, because that's really going to matter in terms of seeding. And you made also a really good point about chemistry and a lot of these other teams that in the West, their core, their nucleus, the group that will carry their team has essentially been around for an extended period of time when in comparison to the Lakers. Again, seismic trade, last trade deadline that shifted a lot. Basically, you had to rewrite your entire playbook because your team was built with Anthony Davis at the center of it. Now it is Luka Doncic. That is very different. We added several pieces. We don't even know our starting lineup. And I think a lot of other teams have this stuff already down. So like you said, I think it feels like we're a little bit behind. Again, I guess we'll see kind of how this week continues to go in training camp, and then we go into these next final preseason games starting the following week. But I got a little bit of a concern, man. Like I said, it's not necessarily the players themselves and their individuality, but in terms of, like you said, the cohesion of the unit. Well, do people know where they need to be? Do they know how to play off one another? Especially, again, when the main components of the engine, both offensive and defensively, are not present on the court for any period of time. What are we getting? Are these just reps for guys on two-way contracts and our G League guys? Isn't that what Summer League was for? Isn't that what the G League season is for?
Right.
I feel like, again, we need to emphasize building the chemistry with our current guys now. And hey, maybe they're doing this off camera, during training camp. Maybe they're doing team dinners, Taco Tuesday at Bron's house. Who knows what's going on beyond the cameras? But to your point, chemistry has felt like an issue with this Lakers team for several years because, like you said, each year it's like we're changing out the roster, we're swapping pieces. That gets difficult. It gets difficult again against that have had years to develop that chemistry. We're on the outside looking in. So, like I said, I'm hoping for a change in this final season, but, JJ's got to really put that foot down to make it happen.
Speaking of JJ, he said recently when asked if the Lakers are undercooked, I'm just freestyling that part, but he did say that they'll run a dress rehearsal with the full rotations. I think that's smart, right? But my question is, what game will that be in the preseason, and what will that look like? Okay. I'd like to get some of these pre-test questions answered early. So then when we're going into games 4 and 5 and 6 of the preseason, that's when you can start really seeing the cohesiveness and a little bit of that preview of what's to come. History tells us we're not going to get that full dress rehearsal until probably game 4, right? And then after that, we'll get a lighter version, and then they probably won't play in game 6. That's just how the preseason has gone. Then they'll start the regular season. Let's say the tank is 3/4 full. That's how you lose to bad teams that you should beat early, is because they are at least practicing and playing these these preseason games together. And when the big dogs are resting, the little scrappy junkyard dogs get to eat. And that's unfortunately what history has shown us has been the case for the Lakers. So hoping that is not the case, hoping that JJ finds some inspiration and gets LeBron and Luka's asses out there. Marcus Smart, we don't even know get up, go, get your ass in there. And, Austin, I hate to say that these Laravia minutes are auditions potentially for a future without you, but I'm just saying the ball was in the boys' hands a lot. So we'll get into more of our, we'll get into more of our supporting cast and our observations about the players that did play right after the break. Late Night Lake Show. We'll be right back.
Late Night Lake
Show. We back. It's Kwame. It's Ricky. And it is the depth of the Los Angeles Lakers that are on the front center stage for us through 2 preseason games. With LeBron James, Luka, Austin, and Marcus Smart all sitting, at least early, there are 2 games that have essentially been auditions for the role bench players and who's stepping up, who looks trustworthy. This is a stress test early for our supporting cast. Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt look like guys that are out here earning their paychecks, have been working the summer and want to continue to be part of this rotation. We got our looks at the young boy Jake LaRavia Knights through 2 preseason games. We'll talk about him. But Dalton looks like he might be actually still playing for the Charlotte Hornets in his head. But Kwame, let's get into the guys who will see meaningful minutes. Big Jared Vanderbilt. Brother had a lane drive, little scoop, and one. He had to remind us, right, what the world thought of him coming out of high school, huh?
Yeah, they did. McDonald's All-American, by the way, in case anybody was unsure.
He was decent from 3, right? What was his numbers from yesterday shooting? Hang on, we could just drop that in
1
one
for
second.
3. He's 1 for 6 in 2 games, so you take what you know.
You know what? Keep all this. We talk about this is why you don't look at stuff online, man. This is why you don't look. I'm driving home. I'm trying to catch up to the game yesterday. I end up catching up and watching it. Folks talk about, oh, Jared Vanderbilt shooting. Look how in the night. My man's made 1 3. I appreciate that he's shooting it, but he's made 1 3. So until that changes, I think I'm gonna have to throw that Jared Vanderbilt improved shooting kind of out the window, but I do like his aggressiveness, at least attacking the rim, right, Kwame? We got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, you got to. Honestly, I loved what I saw from Vando. It felt very reminiscent of, 2023 Vando, right when we traded for him, made that Western Conference Finals run. Like, it really felt like that Vando was back. He seemed like he was moving super well. He was hustling. He's blocking shots from behind. He's grabbing rebounds. He's forcing steals. He's causing chaos, and that is what he's always been really, really good at. I'm curious how JJ will use him this season. He almost didn't use him at all last season, even when he was available to be used. Again, he has his limitations offensively. I still, to be honest, and I think this is going to continue as we go into the regular season, you're going to see teams just leave him open, man. Whatever corner he's in, they're just going to wave him off, and hey, if you lose to Jared Vanderbilt hitting 4 to 5 3-pointers, you deserve to lose that basketball game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's no reason for you to be sticking around. Yeah, you tip your cap, you shake his hand, and you let the man go. It is what it is. So I think that's what teams are just going to continue to game plan as long as he's on the court. Now, seeing people on the timeline saying that he should be the 5th starter. Now, I don't know. It depends what you do with the rest of the lineup. I mean, do you have Marcus Smart in the lineup too? I don't know how you could have both. I mean, again, to be honest, I think there's only one position up for grabs. And to be honest, Rui's probably going to get it on opening night. Now, how that develops throughout the season, I think will be determined. I liked what I saw from Vanderbilt. He gave me what I expected from him. Now, I never expect him to be a guy to go out there and give me, 10 to 15 points per game. Nah, I just don't think that's his role in the NBA, nor do I think it ever will be. I mean, at this point, how old is the guy? Jared Vanderbilt is 26 years old. Wow, actually, he's still pretty young. Let me not say that. Young. He could still develop into something. Again, McDonald's All-American coming out of high school, has had some injury history that has slowed him down. But again, his energy, his motor is exactly what we need. We kind of need him to be that other junkyard dog next to Marcus Smart. Like, I think if we have those two guys in tandem, it's kind of our on-ball kind of bully guys, the rugged dudes, I think it could be helpful. Now, at the end of the day, his offense is extremely limited. I mean, he was 0 for 4 in the game against Phoenix, showed much better flashes the other night against Golden State. Maybe Vando can have a little bit of more freedom on the offensive end of the court, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll be honest, he gave me what I felt like I needed to see, and that gives me a lot of hope. It's just another guy we could deploy off the bench, cause havoc, and I just hope he can find a spot in the rotation and, not be a tremendous liability on the offensive end. But I liked what I saw from Vando, so I'm excited to see what he can bring to the court in real season situations.
Yeah, and to your point of him starting or not, almost feel like Vando's one of those players that if he's not starting and surrounded by stars, his purpose looks a little off. Like, yeah, I get it. Bringing him off the bench to be that attack dog, defensive player. The Lakers don't have waves of attack dogs, though. right? Like, you need your first line of defense dogs to be your attack dogs, not your pawns. This ain't chess, right? I need Jared Vanderbilt out there to cover for Luka, to cover for LeBron, right? I love Rui. Rui ain't getting that done for me, right? And if Luka is able to build some rapport with Vanderbilt as a outlet guy, as a strong passer, as a lob threat, potentially, because Vando's got some athleticism now. He'll catch a lob. I think there is a role for him there, and in my opinion, more so than whatever role is defined for him coming off the bench, because then you have Rui as an option. You have LaRavia as an option, right? You have just the combinations of your starters coming to the bench, and now you're fighting for those minutes as well. And shoot, Marcus Smart can even play up as another guy who's coming off the bench. It's tough for me to see Vando as a one-trick pony, and that one trick is after the first rotation of guys come off.
You actually make a phenomenal point, and I didn't even think about this. Again, if you just think of our lineup, if it is what people assume it to be, Luka, Austin, Braun, Rui, Ayton as the starting five, a bench unit of Smart and Vando, man, like, that's already a little tough. You're already limiting yourself severely. So I'm curious how much JJ will care about balancing the offense and defense just in the starting unit, and then even how that translates and trickles down to the bench. Because like you said, it feels like when Vando started, his value was so obvious, just what he was able to do on the court for us. But like you said, in a 15-minute or, just even like a 3-minute shift coming off the bench that we may see here and there, it only feels like he can do so much in that time. There's only so much havoc he can wreak in a short bench stint. So you may be onto something, honestly. I never really thought of it that way, but you're right. Even just thinking of the balance, if Marcus and Vando both have to come off the bench, you got a tricky situation how you have to stagger your lineups, because if they're ever both on the floor, teams are going to shy away from those players. And I don't know if you can afford to have two guys that may not even look at the basket to score on the court at the same time. So you make a great point there.
So there's this idea that's going around right now in sports, and more specifically in the professional basketball, that it's talking about synergy. It's saying that synergy isn't additive. Players' chemistry might matter more than how they perform in silo individually, looking at their 100%. Numbers just black and white. And it's like, well, yeah, right? You ever go to the park, you play a lot better with your homies than with some strangers, right? Like, your contributions look a lot different. And I think Vando is a poster child for that type of player. If he's out there with a bunch of B to B- to C+ players, Vando looks like a C+ player. If Vando's out there with A's, Vando looks like a B+ player, and some days an A- for what he does as that connective tissue. I think we see it. I don't think JJ is dumb. If he talks to ChatGPT as long as he does daily, I think this is an idea that would hit his desk. So I'm team. Let's get Vanderbilt in the starting lineup. And, Rui's not scared to shoot. He will be fine.
Yeah,
he gets that ball. He's putting that bitch up. So, and I think you said a couple pods ago, he would be a perfect LeBron replacement in the rotation, 1-for-1, when LeBron needs a breather. And to Rui, if you're JJ, that's a whole talking point. It's like, yeah, LeBron's going to be out in that court when it matters, but to start games, LeBron's probably going to be the first one, if not the absolute second one, to the bench every game. Guess who's coming off first? That's you, brother. So there's value. This is also why communication and coaching and how your relationship with players is just as important as your X's and O's. So JJ's got a decent amount to juggle, including who is just going to start on this basketball team. Oh, wait, we can't do tryouts yet because our two top guys are still resting and rehabilitating. It's tough. Going back to the first comment or the first topic, this is why it's tough to get out to a fast start when you actually have legitimate questions that you want to answer, but only can answer once you see the product on the court.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. All right. So we saw Gabe Vincent play against the Golden State Warriors, and he honestly, in the stint that he played, the first shift, which was about the first half, he was going toe-to-toe with Steph Curry out there, man. He was 3 for 7 on threes. Steph was 3 of 5 on threes. Steph ended with 14. Gabe ended with 16. Again, this is preseason. We know Gabe Vincent isn't Steph Curry, but I liked what I saw from Gabe Vincent. I'll be honest. He said he was working hard all summer trying to get his game back, try to shake the injury dust off, and, just really kind of move forward with this roster on the Lakers, get in better shape. He worked on a lot of his 3-point shooting because he feels like he'll be getting a lot of open shots with the creators that we'll have on the floors. My question to you, Rick, given Gabe Vincent's 16.5 assists, 4-9 from the field game against the Golden State Warriors, how do you think he can plug in and play with this roster again without even knowing the defined roles yet? What do you think Gabe Vincent could bring to the table for our Lakers this season?
Yeah, I think Gabe's important. I think Gabe's always been important. I think what Rob's idea from what he saw for that Miami run out of Gabe Vincent was that firecracker, you kind of a little bit of your like Deion Waiters, a little bit like your J.R. Smith, but less just crazy as a personality, right? Gabe seems like a pretty chill dude for all intents and purposes, but they all share the same role is, hey, put that ball in that basket as soon as it touches your hands, right? Gabe's is obviously more focused on the three-point shooting, where the other ones were just going to pound the air out of the ball to get their basket, to get their bucket. But I think Gabe, in combination with just being a scrappy defender, not saying he is the best, but he is definitely capable and willing to put his best effort out there. This is the guy that has a roster spot on any team in the NBA. He's getting rotation minutes. And the only issue for us was we have not had healthy Gabe Vincent for very long stretches of the season. If we can start the year off with healthy Gabe, even with, he shot well from 3 last night. He started the game. He brought the energy to the team. But let's say he starts the regular season in a little bit of a shooting slump. I'd rather take that than not playing Gabe Vincent, where he's just over there with fresh braids every game and got the best seat in the house. These are the minutes that matter most, and I'll sound like a broken record, but just seeing a guy get out there and kind of build off of that momentum of being healthy to end last season. I'm sure he had a very strong summer training, and now coming into this and seeing his first game back that he is firing and he's looking good and he's looking not injured. All signs pointing up for Big Gabe. I mean, I expect him to be one of the first guards off the bench. Absolutely. We'll see what the Marcus Smart era has in store for us. But, if the brother is not strapping up for preseason games 3, 4, 5, or 6, you would imagine, right? One, there's a bigger issue that we're talking about with the injury, but 2, he is now under Gabe Vincent in the depth chart. So shout out Gabe. I'm here for it, and I'm here for him to continue to stay on the court.
Yeah, I would agree with your point 100%. And I think, like you said, the lineup is really going to matter how Gabe Vincent is able to carve out his role. Marcus Smart is in the starters. He's the clear guard off the bench, ball handler off the bench. He's the clear guy to come off and kind of assume that role with Marcus Smart there and then both coming in. Now, how does that work? It may not seem as clear, but I agree. I think Gabe is a staple in this roster. I think what he can bring, what we've seen, and we've seen him when he's been really, really good. Again, he was the starting point guard for that Miami team that went to the final, I believe 2 seasons ago, and he was phenomenal in that run. Now, will he get the same usage and everything that he was then? No. But if he can just, contain that spark and be able to provide it in short bursts off our bench, or even if a guy is out, I just want to see Gabe with the ball in his hands a little bit more. I think he is a talented player as a playmaker, a scorer. I think he's really good in those regards, and we didn't really get to quite see it these last 2 years he was with our team. So I just hope that role's been opened up for him, because I do have really, really high hopes for Gabe.
Speaking of a guy who had the ball in his hands a lot, Jake LaRavia, through 2 preseason games, has put on a solid performance for our Lakers. I was a little bit surprised, as you were, Kwame, to see how comfortable he is with getting his dribble on. The first game against Phoenix on October 3rd, he had a modest scoring night, didn't really shoot a whole lot, but you saw that he was active on defense. I think that's important for JJ's mindset and his philosophy. He just wants guys out there that are going to be active, that are long, lanky, and are trying to get in the way and stop other players from scoring. A crazy concept, but you kind of got to find those players in the NBA sometimes. His role is a little bit up in the air, as well as we talked about the Jaren Vanderbilts and the Rui Hachimuras. These are guys that all play that hybrid forward position and will be battling for minutes either alongside or behind LeBron James. We think that Jake, based on being the first phone call from JJ, has a spot in this rotation. So I'm curious, Kwame, what were your first impressions of the boy, and where do you see his fit, if at all, without LeBron and Luka on the court?
I gotta be honest with you, the first thing that I noticed about Jake LaRavia is he's 6'7" for real. Like, he's a big dude. He's not a little guy on the court. Like, I saw him out there standing like with the lineup, and I was like, wow, he kind of makes our lineup look really big, especially the one that we played Friday against the Phoenix Suns, our lineup felt massive. I think Austin Reeves was the shortest person on the court at 6'6". So like it felt just like a very big team. And I think that's where some of his versatility lies, right in his size. Ball handler that I didn't expect to see. I didn't think that he had that ability, to put the ball on the floor. He seemed to play make pretty decently, pretty good on the drives, just kind of having the ball in his hand. Didn't get to see too much of his three-point shooting. I think he only has one make in the 2 preseason games, so didn't get to see a ton of that. But I saw a lot of sparks on the defensive end, him able to guard multiple size players, from guards to shooting guards to small forwards. I'm sure he'll get some power forward runs if it's a smaller power forward in that regard. But he seems like a scrappy young player that feels hungry. So I actually really liked what I was able to see. And again, I would assume from roster to roster, looking at last year, turning the page to this year, he kind of is supposed to fill that Dorian Finney-Smith role, correct? Kind of a 3-and-D type of guy, except he has a bit more youth, a bit more athleticism. And he seems to have a bit more ability to put the ball on the ground. To be honest, we haven't seen much of him. We haven't seen him in the role that he will have throughout the season, but I liked what I saw early from Jake, and I think I'm really excited to see what he can bring to the table when he has a bit more opportunity. I think the things that stood out to me were his size, his ability to put the ball on the floor, and again, if he's just supposed to be our DFS kind of swap, I think we did pretty good on that. And then when you talk about in terms of the lineup for the season and where he fits and how he can be there, I think he's just going to kind of be a connecting piece, do his job, communicate on the floor, defend his position, whoever he's guarding, defend them well, rebound, kind of do some of the smaller things and just be available, hit open threes, run in transition. I think that's kind of just going to be his role, is just kind of whatever the team needs at the given time when he's on the court. And I think he's versatile enough. Again, I've seen him be able to do a little bit of everything. Nothing, that blew my mind, like, whoa, he's a franchise player, S-player. But again, I think he is very much slotted in the kind of connector glue guy kind of role where he's just going to be out on the court and you're just going to expect him to perform when the ball's in his hands. So the opportunities are going to be slim. He's not going to get 10 shots a night. So he's going to have to do a lot with the small sample size, and he will unfortunately be judged every single game on that small sample size. But I'm excited for Jake, and I think he'll be a good addition to the teams. I just want to see when the players on that count are on the court with him and see how he fits then.
Yeah, I agree. I think LaRavia is going to be one of those guys that's going to do whatever role he's asked to do. He's going to be a great locker room guy. He'll be, a guy you don't have to worry about. His offensive output, I think, will vary from game to game, week to week, need to need. But on the defensive end, we will see how much JJ values his IQ. He's spoken to it as such already, speaking about LaRavia, and that he gets the concept of the system offensively and defensively very well. It sounds like a guy who's already earned coach's trust. How that translates to how fans look at LaRavia, especially with being that first signee during free agency, I think they'll be biased. I think they'll probably expect more offensive output than he'll probably be allowed, and allow's not the right word, but those opportunities just won't be there as much, especially if he's sharing the court with the LeBrons, the Lucas, the Austins, right? Even the Gabes and the Ruiz. There's not many guys on this Lakers roster who, if the ball's in their hands, are probably looking to pass first. I'm looking forward to it. As long as he can stay on the court defensively, we'll be seeing a lot of him when the season kicks off. One last topic for us. We are going to dive in to dominating or not. We'll get into it. Late Night Lake Show. We'll be right back.
Late Night Lake Show.
Late Night Lake Show, we back. So let's zoom in on DeAndre Ayton. Two regular preseason games in, and while his scoring is still modest, his defensive presence is starting to send a message. You can see it, how he's moving, how he's communicating, how he's controlling the paint. It's not loud, but it's loud if you're watching closely and has impact, right? Game 1 against Phoenix, Ayton was fronted most of the night, only 2 shot attempts, finished with 1 point, but he grabbed 8 boards, blocked 2 shots, and even forced a couple of turnovers by just being in the right place. Imagine that, a 7-footer just taking up space and disrupting the offensive flow. He didn't pout, he didn't press on the issue, he just leaned into what he's here to do. He said, I'm not here for numbers, protecting the rim, closing closing out on possessions is priority number one. And that's a guy who's trying to redefine himself. Now look at game 2 against Golden State. He had more touches. He had more freedom. Still not a lot more scoring. 7 points, 7 boards, 2 blocks in about 20 minutes. But overall, I guess that value, it was in the defense. That's what JJ is looking for him to contribute the most. And I think when he's locked in, guards chase over screens with confidence. The help rotation makes sense. It's structure. And he brings order to chaos like most lockdown bigs do. Anthony Davis was a great example of that when he was terrorizing and we had guards funneling offensive ball handlers right to him in the post. But if you start to wonder, is this the version of DeAndre Ayton that the Lakers actually need? I feel you on that. He's not a 20-10 guy fighting for touches, but he's a disciplined, mature anchor who cleans up everything behind LeBron and Luka. You probably take that, right? Because let's be real. Next to Luka's usage and LeBron's playmaking, Ayton's not going to live post touches. He's going to live in the margins. Rim runs, offensive boards, short roll reads, and defensive presence. It's the little things that play and make winning players in playoff games come April, come May, come June. So the question is that enough for DeAndre Ayton? Is he satisfied with the role that he is given on this team? It sounds like he is. JJ Redick clearly wants him to buy into that role early, build the habits now, get the numbers later. But we've seen that version of Ayton who loses interest as he's not featured throughout the season. So there's a balance, Kwame, but we got to figure it out. Which DeAndre Ayton is the best Ayton for this Lakers roster so far? Through 2 games, what have you seen? And what do you think we need? Offensive Ayton or defensive lockdown Ayton?
Wow. I think it's both. To your point. It's finding that balance. Because, again, if he came here expecting to be a 20-10 player, he came to the absolute wrong team, because that's just not what's going to happen on a night-to-night basis. Now, I do think there are going to be some nights where we are going to need 20-10 out of DeAndre Ayton. It just won't be every night. And to your point, I think we have so much firepower on the offensive end between Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James that Ayton in just the starting lineup is the 4th option. Just the starting lineup, he's the 4th option. I think, to your point, he's going to have to live in the margins. He's going to have to score in the pick and roll. He's going to have to get offensive boards, put backs, catch lobs. That's going to be his bread and butter. That is where he's going to get the lion's share of his scoring from. It's not going to be Ayton post-ups and clear-outs. Like, that's going to be very seldomly used, He might get his, 3 a game, like we used to give JaVale McGee. Remember, we used to do the customary.
Yeah,
JaVale
he used to get the first
3 post-ups, and it'd be crazy. And maybe Ayton has something like that, but he's got to understand his number is not going to be called on a nightly basis. And we just have guards, unfortunately, that like to pound the basketball. Austin Reeves takes 950,000 dribbles. I mean, it's saucy, but he does pound that rock. Luka, too, is going to take 895,000 dribbles. LeBron James is going to take probably like 795,000 dribbles. So, it's still a lot of dribbles. Gabe Vincent, you even saw it. And Gabe, I think, is a good playmaker. He couldn't get the ball to Ayton as much as Ayton probably would have liked. Game 1, he talked about it. Hey, I didn't see the ball a ton. So, and it just is what it is. And I hope that is not something that lingers, because that can very quickly snowball and become an actual problem within the locker room. But Ayton says, hey, he's saying all the right things in the interviews. As long as that translates on the court, I'm not worried about it. My question for the big season is going to be, will his impact wane based on his touches? Because guys who don't get the ball, don't see it a lot, start to not get as involved. They're not hustling as hard. They're not running back as hard. They're not fighting as hard for rebounds because they're not getting the ball as much as they expected. And if Ayton can clear himself from that, he will be a phenomenal center for this Los Angeles Lakers team. But if he cannot seem to shake that, then I see it being a much bigger problem throughout this season. And he can define who he is for the rest of his career. What he does with this Lakers team can change his outlook throughout the entire league. And his issue has never been his ability to play. It's been his heart, his mind, his motor. If he can make sure those 3 things are in check this upcoming season, I have no worries. But through 2 games, I feel like I've seen flashes of the Ayton that everybody's like, yep, that's just DeAndre Ayton. It was funny. Even in game one, he took that first like turnaround hook, which came off the rim, and you hear Devin Booker scream, "Hell no!" Old teammate.
Right.
So
yeah,
I thought
old
that was very
teammate.
funny. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, DeAndre Ayton's going to get plenty of opportunities, but he's going to have to continue to find places where he can be engaged without having the ball in his hands at all. And even when you think at Portland, even though they had a lot of guards, there weren't a lot of people who were going to put up a ton of numbers. So he kind of, if he got the ball, he got to play with it a little bit, do what he needed to do, and, get some baskets. But on this team, his role is going to be very, very straightforward. And he's, like you said, he's going to have to capitalize in the margins and make the most of the opportunity. But we're going to need him on the defensive end. He's going to have to be the communicator, the man in the middle. He's going to have to talk. He's going to have to be ready. And pick and roll, he's going to have to talk. He's going to have to be ready, hands up, whatever it needs. He's going to have to execute the game plan exactly how the coaches need it to be. So it'll be interesting, man. It'll be very interesting to see how DeAndre Ayton, he's going to be the guy, unfortunately, that's going to catch a lot of people's eyes this season. So his performance is going to be under scrutiny every single night, because not only is he just filling the need of a center that we've been begging for like 6 seasons, he's also, in a way, the Anthony Davis of our front court. So he's going to have to be able to perform in some capacity. We know he's not Anthony Davis. We understand that, but he can't be nothing. There can't be nights where people are screaming, "Put Jackson Hayes in." That cannot happen with DeAndre Ayton with any sort of routine. So the man in the middle's got a lot to work on. So we'll see. The jury's still out. I can't say I was blown away, nor am I super optimistic. I'm very much in the middle. And again, I don't think you can fully judge his position without our playmakers, because those are the guys who are supposed to draw the eyes for the easy. And DeAndre Ayton comes and dunks it down. That is supposed to be what his role is. With all eyes are everywhere else, he's in the dunker spot ready to put the ball through the rim. And we haven't quite had those plays or even those players to really be on the court to make that happen.
I think at the end of the day, this is where I land with Ayton. As someone who, a BBU, Big Boy University, I have to give a first passing profile for him. DeAndre Ayton seems like an NBA big that is best suited for rim protection, help defense, and rebounding. I think the Los Angeles Lakers, while needing that, also need him to be a little assertive scoring. There has to be that minutia of, regardless of my touches when I'm with the big dogs, I'm going to be solid defensively. But when the big dogs are out, I'm going to look for my shot. It is going to be infuriating with Ayton ISOs potentially early in a possession when you got Luka and LeBron out there before something is even developed, no motion, no fluidity, no screen set, and it seems like a wasted possession. But that looks a lot different when it's Ayton, Marcus Smart, LaRavia, and Rui Hachimura, just for example, all on the court together. Then that's your time to cook, brother. Now it's that mental piece of, can you balance both? Can you be that guy when you're not that guy, and then be that guy when you need to be that guy, all while keeping your defensive presence and staying engaged? That's the $1 million question. That's been the $1 million question for DeAndre Ayton ever since that he touched down into this league and people saw the talent, but also saw that the motor is pushed to start. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. There's no turn key in DeAndre Ayton's motor. It's off or it's on. We need to turn that into an electric vehicle it's running. It's always running. Right. So
late
that's really
show.
where we are 2 games into the preseason, brother. Ayton's finding his footing. The bench is earning minutes, and JJ's still in his teaching mode. Right. He did say that he talked to his performance coach and they told him that he needs to find more balance and just not everybody is built like Kobe mentally. I mean, there's a psychopath about this game and you have to meet people where they're at. Wow. I don't want to crack jokes, but that's actually a very good realization to have as somebody who could potentially be perceived as wound tight, realizing that not everybody is wound as tight as you. And as a leader, you're going to have to unwind a couple strings depending on who you're talking to. So Lakers 0-2, start the regular season, The record doesn't matter yet. What matters is the shape of the team. But patience has a price. We've seen what slow starts can do to the Lakers in past seasons, and the margin for error gets smaller and smaller as you continue to jag away early season games. So yes, building habits matter, but at some point, you got to build these preseason chemistry wins too. So, and with that, that'll do it for us on the Late Night Lake Show podcast. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. As always, make sure you subscribe wherever you get that hashtag good content. We will see you guys next week. The Lakers play next weekend on Sunday? What day do they play, Kwame? Next Sunday. So we drop these episodes on Tuesday, so next time you'll hear us will be a review after Game 3. So that'll do it for us. For Kwame, it's Ricky. Late Night Lake Show. We out. Peace. Oh, and shout out Brendan in the back.